Alright, so starting us off today, we have Cliff playing Blanka Storm. He's trying to have explosive turns where he cycles through instant sorceries, dealing 2 damage to the table, pumping his commander up, and swinging out real big. Jeff is going to be playing Thrasios and Yoshimaru. This is a clones token deck, so he's trying to flood the board out with a bunch of creature tokens. Will is playing Atraxa, Recursion, Enchantments. With this build, he's trying to fill his graveyard up with enchantments and recur them over and over again for value, using his commander primarily to draw him a bunch of cards and keep his hand full. I'm going to be playing my Ratadrabik of Urborg deck. It's an Orzhov Legends Matters list with a few key pieces of recursion to keep the game rolling. Let's go ahead and get into the gameplay. Cliff starts with a command tower. From there, he casts Commander's Plate and pass. Jeff plays a Temple Garden. Then Yoshimaru, Ever Faithful. Will plays Marsh Flats. He cracks it to fetch Rafine's Tower. I'll play a Marsh Flats of my own. I'll crack it to fetch a Godless Shrine. I'm a cheater, so I forget to pay the 1 from sacrificing Marsh Flats. Godless Shrine enters tapped and I'll pass. Cliff plays a Forest and passes. Jeff plays an Island. Then casts his second commander, Thrasios, Triton Hero, putting a counter on Yoshimaru. He sends the 2/2 Dogo at me and pass. Will plays a Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Then he casts Demonic Tutor. I'll play the Grey Havens. I'll scry 1, leaving the card on top. Then I cast Ornithopter of Paradise and move to end step where Cliff casts Sudden Breakthrough. He'll make a treasure token and start his turn. He plays a Forest. Then he'll cast Arcane Signet and pass the turn. Jeff starts with the Windswept Heath. He cracks it to fetch a Plains. From there, he casts Iorith of the Healing House. This triggers Yoshimaru, so it'll get a counter. During combat, he sends the Pup at will, unblocked, and pass. Will plays a Flooded Strand. He cracks, sacks, and shocks in a Watery Grave. From there, he casts Life from the Loam, returning his 2 fetch lands to hand and passing the turn. I'll play a Swamp. Using that, I cast Viscera Seer. Then I cast Skrove, Defector Might, and pass the turn. Cliff plays a Forest. Then he casts his commander, Blanka, Ferocious Friend, and pass. Jeff shocks in the Hollow Fountain. Then he casts Thousand Moon Smithy, giving him a Super Construct on ETB. It's legendary, so he buffs the pup. Moving to combat, he sends the 4/4 Yoshimaru at me and pass the turn. Instead of drawing, Will dredges with Life from the Loam. He mills Smothering Tithe, Exploration, and Replenish. From there, he plays Flooded Strand, fetching a Plains. Then he'll try to tempt the table, casting Tempt with Discovery. Nobody's tempted, so he fetches a Serra Sanctum and pass. I'll play Takenuma, Abandoned Mire, as my land for turn. Then I cast Lauren of the Third Path, choosing to destroy the Thousand Moon Smithy on ETB. After that, I cast Lotho Corrupt Sheriff, and pass the turn. Cliff starts his turn by equipping his commander with Commander's Plate. Then he casts Nature's Lore. He'll fetch a Cinderglade into play and pass. Jeff starts with the Spara's headquarters tapped. Then he casts Adrix and Nev, Twin Casters, pumping up the Yoshimaru again. He attacks Will with the 5/5 commander and pass. Will shocks in a Hollow Fountain. Then he casts Heliod, God of the Sun. After that, he casts Life from the Loam, triggering Lotho. He'll return his 2 lands to hand and pass to me. I cast my commander, Ratadrabik of Urborg, and pass the turn. Cliff plays Boiling Blood, targeting Blanka. He'll draw a card, and Blanka gets +2/+2 and deals 2 damage to the table. Then he casts Canopy Cover, enchanting Blanka. This triggers Lotho, and we all lose 2, while Blanka gets another +2/+2. After that, he casts Ground Rift, targeting Blanka, with all the copies hitting the table for 6 more damage. Then he passes the turn, choosing not to attack. Because of Boiling Blood, Blanka would have had to attack this turn, but we all missed this during the game, and that's my bad. But he passes the turn from there. Jeff cast Irenicus's Vile Duplication, targeting Adrix and Nev. He'll get 2 copies of Adrix and Nev. Moving to combat, he sends the 7/7 Construct at me. He sends the 5/5 Yoshimaru at Will. Will takes the damage, and I block with Lauren. Before damage, I tap Lauren, and I have me and Will draw a card. Then I sacrifice her to Viscera Seer so I can scry 1. My commander gives me a zombie Lauren, and I'll destroy Cliff's commander plate on ETB. Will starts his turn by dredging with his Life from the Loam, milling Rhystic Study, Mana Confluence, and Aura Shards. Then he plays Flooded Strand. He sacrifices it to fetch Mystic Sanctuary, allowing him to put Replenish on top of his library. After that, he casts Atraxa Grand Unifier. On ETB, he reveals 10 cards and puts one of each card type into his hand. He gets Replenish, Teferi's Protection, Afara, God of the Polis, and Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Moving to cleanup, he discards a bunch of cards and pass the turn. I play a Phyrexian Tower. Then I cast the One Ring. After that, I cast Wrinkle, Master of Pranks. I attack Cliff with Wrinkle, choosing the modes everyone sacrifices a creature and everyone draws a card, and loses a life. Cliff sacrifices his commander. Jeff sacrifices Thrasios. Will sacrifices Atraxa, and I sacrifice Lotho. I get my Lotho trigger from casting my second spell, and my commander gives me a zombie Lotho. And if you made it this far, you know the deal. Do the algorithm stuff, help the channel out, and leave a comment down below. Cliff casts Seize the Spoils. Don't mind me, I'm just remembering what my commander does. He plays a mountain for turn and passes. Jeff casts Nesting Dovehawk. Moving to combat, he creates a copy of a non-legendary Atrix and Ev. The 3 Atrix and Evs he has will give him 8 more tokens. Because 8 tokens ETBs, Nesting Dovehawk will get a +8/+8. Moving to combat, he sends the 15/15 Construct at Cliff. The 5/5 Yoshimaru will go at will, and 2 of the 2/2 Atrix tokens will also go at will. The original Atrix and Ev will be sent at Cliff. Will is taken out of the game and Cliff takes 17 damage. Jeff moves to his end step and I activate the One Ring to draw a card. I take 1 from the One Ring, then I tap it to draw 2 cards. I start tapping out, almost forgetting to play my command tower, and I cast Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite. All creatures get -2/-2, which gets rid of all of the Atrix and Ebs over on Jeff's side of the board. I move to combat and I send my 5/5 Rankle at Cliff. I choose to have everyone sacrifice a creature. I sacrifice Rankle. Jeff sacrifices Yoshimaru. From there, I'll pass the turn. Cliff plays a forest. Then he casts Chaos Warp, targeting his own arcane signet. He shuffles it into his library and reveals a land. He puts the land into play and casts Bonus Round, triggering Lotho and copying all instants and sorceries until the end of his turn. Then he casts Poison the Blade, targeting... it doesn't matter. It copies and he draws 2 cards. From there, he'll cast Nature's Claim, targeting my Scrove and my treasure token. After that, he casts Grape Shot, sending all the damage at Elesh Norn. In response to the final 1 damage, I sacrifice Elesh Norn so I can scry 1 and he'll pass the turn. My commander gives me a zombie Elesh Norn. Jeff moves straight to combat, making a token copy of his Super Construct. This gives Nesting Dovehawk a counter and he sends it at me. I block it with Rankle, and before damage, I sacrifice Rankle to scry 1. Second main, Jeff casts Elspeth, Sun's Champion. He uses her -3 to destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. I respond by sacrificing all of my creatures that would die, and I scry a bunch to the bottom. Moving to my turn, I lose 2 from the One Ring. Then I tap the One Ring to draw 3 cards. Then we catch that Jeff's Super Constructs should have gotten swept up in Elspeth's Carnage. I play my land for turn. Then I cast the Kenrith's Royal Funeral. I exile Rankle and Lotho on ETB, making my legends 2 mana cheaper, losing 4 life and drawing 4 cards. After that, I cast Junji the Midnight Sky. I attack Elspeth with my 2/2 Elesh Norn. She has Vigilance, so she doesn't tap on attack. I'll also send my Ornithopter and Viscera Seer at Jeff. I move to my cleanup step and pass the turn. Cliff recasts his commander, Blanka, Ferocious Friend. Then he casts Keen Sense, targeting his commander. Jeff and I lose 2 life. Moving to combat, he sends his 7/7 commander at Jeff, Triggering Keen Sense, he draws a card and passes the turn. Jeff casts Azor's Gateway. He uses the Gateway to draw and discard. Then he untaps the Gateway with Iorith. He'll tap Azor's Gateway again to draw and discard. From there, he passes to me. I play a Pathway as my land, then I remember to take 3 from the One Ring. Using the One Ring, I'll tap it to draw 4. Then I recast my commander, Ratadrabik of Urborg. I'll cast Reanimate, targeting Elesh Norn, losing 7 life. Moving to combat, I send enough damage at Jeff to take him out of the game and take Cliff down to 6. In main phase 2, I cast Deadly Dispute, sacrificing Elesh Norn. My commander triggers, giving me a zombie Elesh Norn. Then I sacrifice Junji, choosing to return Elesh Norn from my graveyard. 3 Elesh Norns is enough to kill Cliff's commander. I'll pass the turn from there, and if Cliff can deal 2 damage to me, I'll die on my upkeep to my own One Ring. He doesn't draw the 2 damage, and with that, Ratadrabik takes it this week. Hope you enjoyed the gameplay. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you at the table next game.